It's October 28th. Halloween is this weekend. Here's some more Mr. Nightmare.
I'm back at it like a bad habit. I smoke rappers, I'm a rap addict. A toe tagger causing mad havoc. With no swagger, yes, I'm that savage.
So we've got a horror story compilation by Mr. Nightmare, and this is 3 true trick-or-treating horror stories, so this should be pretty good. So without further ado, 3, 2, 1, let's go. Scare me. I want to be scared.
I experienced a sketchy situation on Halloween a couple years ago. My
As you
cousin
do.
came over for Halloween that year just to go trick-or-treating. I was 15 at the time, and I know that's a bit old for trick-or-treating, but hey, it's free candy. My cousin was
It's a
also
good as
15,
reason as I
and we
need.
were planning on taking it easy that Halloween and just hitting enough houses to make a reasonable haul before we went home. My friend and his younger brother went with us, but we eventually went our separate ways. It was
Yo, they
pretty
got the
busy,
found
and there was a
footage?
whole lot of kids at every house with
Damn.
decorations up. My cousin Jack and I decided to hit some of the houses with lights on with no kids already on the front stoops.
Smart.
Lots of houses that we had already hit before that had no decorations up and had lights on all had people inside ready to deliver candy to trick-or-treaters. But all the other kids I know for a fact target the heavily decorated houses. We ended up getting through like 4 houses in a minute because of no lineups.
That's
The
pretty
next
good.
house in the line was not decorated at all, but there was a light on, so we thought we'd give it a shot.
So this house is going to be
We
where shit
knocked on the
goes
door,
down.
and immediately an older man opened the door. He opened it completely, which revealed 5 other guys just standing there. They
Okay.
were much younger than the older man who opened the door. I'm guessing they were in their late 30s, while the older man who opened the door was in his early 50s.
You guys
He
think
held
what
out a
I'm
bowl
thinking?
of candy, then reached in and grabbed some and put
Pedophile?
it in each of our bags. The older man asked Jack what his name was, and Jack responded to his question using a fake name.
Yeah, that's good.
Jack
That's
said
smart.
bye before the older man could say anything else. We walked off the front stoop, and alarms immediately started going off in my head. Jack seemed alarmed as well, and we started talking about how sketchy that was.
Yep.
Why were there 6 guys right there when we opened the door?
He's going to like follow
Why
them
were
or
they all
something.
acting so strange? Those were the questions that were floating around in my head. Jack and I were a little spooked because of how weird that was. We went to 2 more houses, then we started walking to my house. Jack and I glanced back at that house to see a car pulling out of the driveway. The car drove up the way we were walking and started slowing down right next to us.
Okay, maybe it's time
The
to
roads were clear, and all
run.
the trick-or-treaters were on the sidewalks, so there should have been no reason the car slowed down right next to us. We picked up the pace a bit, and that's when another car sped up behind them, eventually beginning to go the same pace as the first car. I
run.
recognized the guy driving the first car, and the guy driving the second car. The guy driving the first car was the older guy who gave us the candy, and the driver in the second car was one of the 5 guys just
Yep.
standing there suspiciously. There was also somebody in the passenger seat in the first car, but all I could see was the silhouette of the person. When Jack and I were 2 houses away from my house, we saw the first car park right
Oh.
across the street from my house.
Okay, yeah, you
We
don't
didn't
go
even
back
see
to your
where the
house
second
though
car went. We just bolted
when you're
back
being
inside my
followed. That's so
house.
fucking
Our
stupid.
parents, who were sitting in the living room talking, asked us what was wrong. We told them the whole story, and when we were finished, we went to the window to check if that car was still parked across the street. And it was.
Dude,
But then 5 seconds after I checked, it drove off.
they know where you live now.
It had probably
You shouldn't
been
have
parked
gone
there
back
for
to
the
your
5
house.
minutes
Like,
since we went
go
inside
to
my
some
house.
random house, like of
My
somebody
mom
you
and
know.
Jack's mom wanted Jack and I to go show our dads the house where all those guys were in. But eventually, our parents calmed us down and told us it was just a Halloween gag or something. Though I
Nope.
have my own theory on what was going on. The reason why there were 6 guys in the main doorway was because when a lone trick-or-treater or group of trick-or-treaters much younger than Jack and I came to the door, they were looking to jump or snatch them.
Yep.
But when they saw that Jack and I were teenagers and literally the same height as them, they decided to play it cool, even though they still looked sketchy. And why they were following us in their cars, we will never know. But when the night ended and everyone was off to bed, I realized that house is only 1 block from my house.
Yeah, that's a very scary thought. I'm not going to be sleeping tonight. I'm going to have nightmares. Oh, damn it. There's an ad. All right, we're back.
This was many years ago. My old buddy Anthony and I were getting on our costumes to go trick-or-treating. We started going house to house just like a normal night. We got to the old part of our neighborhood, where our parents would tell us not to go because we were only 12 years old and we didn't know our way around there.
Yeah, you should probably not
We
go
walked
there
up to
then.
the first house there, and a nice lady opened the door who gave us big Hershey bars. After that, while we were walking to
Okay.
literally only the second house in this part of the neighborhood, this random guy came screaming and running towards us down the street. He came out from behind a church.
That's maybe why
We
your
thought it
parents
was just
don't
a
want you
Halloween
going there.
prank at first, like anyone would, so we stood there just laughing. But as soon as he got up to us, he tried taking the pillowcase full of candy out of my hands, so my buddy Anthony started hitting him with his pillowcase.
Yo,
By the time we
back the
got to
fuck
this
off,
old
dog.
neighborhood, we had a lot of candy, so being hit
Don't
with
take
that
my fucking
pillowcase
candy.
surely had to hurt. Anthony was hitting him until he let go of the pillowcase and started running away. We thought that was the end of him, until we started walking back, extremely shocked and confused. I called my mom and asked her if she could pick us up because we were pretty far from home, and that whole experience kind of made us want to get off the streets. As soon as she got to our location, we explained what happened, and she almost didn't believe us. That's how ridiculous it sounded. We got home around 10 p.m., and shortly after that, there was a knock at the front door. My dad figured it was just a late-night trick-or-treater,
Oh, no.
so we went to answer the door, and standing there was a man in a jumpsuit with a Michael Myers mask. My dad was confused because he was wondering what
Nope.
he was doing out alone trick-or-treating, and based on his height and build, he looked like an older man, not a kid or a teenager. Either way, my dad just gave him candy and didn't really care to say
Nope.
anything. But while Anthony and I were sitting on the couch, we noticed him staring at us, like his masked face was staring right at us in the living room. I felt slightly unsettled by it and was waiting for him to just turn and leave. My
Slightly?
dad ended up shutting the door in his face when he wouldn't walk away. So fast forward to like 1 in the morning. We were about to go to bed, but on our way upstairs, we heard a knock at the door. There was no way I was opening the door at that hour. I heard it too. It was the sound of leaves crackling in the backyard. I looked in the backyard, and I saw that man in the Michael Myers costume swinging on the swing set in our yard,
Oh,
staring
no,
into
no.
my bedroom window.
No.
I felt like
No.
my heart jumped out of my chest and up into my throat.
This is like a,
It's like
a
he was
literal fucking
purposely
horror movie.
recreating a scene from a horror movie to scare us. I ran into my dad's room.
Sorry,
and
I
told
have
him
this.
that the man in the Michael Myers costume was on
If
our
you were
swing
wondering what
set.
this was.
He took on
the
this
mic
expression
cover.
of shock and concern just like ours, and he looked outside, but he didn't see anyone there. Then, right when we were looking, we heard a knock at the back door. My dad
Don't
went
answer
downstairs
it.
to the door, but nobody was there. This man was toying with us, harassing us to scare us. It had to be a Halloween prank.
Nah,
My
I
dad
don't
was
think so.
equally concerned now. All of a sudden, I heard
think
my
it's a
mom
murder
scream
prank.
in the other room. So Anthony, my dad, and I ran upstairs to see the man in the Michael Myers costume standing at the end of the bed staring at my mom. My
No.
dad told Anthony and I to run and call the police. My friend and I ran downstairs and grabbed the nearest phone.
I got like
We
fucking
called
goosebumps.
911 and told them that a man dressed as Michael Myers had broken into our house. The operator asked if everyone was all right. I said he's upstairs, and my dad has him, but we needed cops immediately. She told me to stay on the phone and that police were en route to the house. From upstairs, there was the sound of my dad screaming, followed by their sliding window being pushed open. The two of us ran upstairs to see my mom and dad laying on the floor. My mom was crying, and my dad's nose was bleeding.
Oh.
My dad said the man jumped out through the window. When the police arrived, Anthony, my dad, and I told them everything we could. They did a sweep of the property inside and out, which took about 20 minutes, and the premises was clear. I think that might have been my last year trick-or-treating, and for good reason. I still wonder if the man that tried to take my candy was the man wearing the Michael Myers costume, and I deeply
There's no
regret
way
leaving
that's a
that part out of
coincidence.
the story we gave to the police.
There's absolutely no way that's a coincidence.
Halloween was always one of my least favorite days of the year. I
Really?
never had a lot of friends in middle school or high school, so I never really had any plans on Halloween.
Dude,
In
trick-or-treating
middle
with your
school, I
friends
didn't really
in
go
middle school,
trick-or-treating,
that was-
but in
that was
high
always,
school,
like,
I
the
never
best
really went to
fucking
any
thing.
Halloween parties. This was also at a time when my sister was away at college, so due to the fact that my parents were hardly ever home, I'd usually be home alone.
oh,
This
I
was
can
one
already
of
see where
many
this is
Halloween
going.
nights that I was left home alone. Halloween was on a Friday this particular year, so kids were out in droves and later
Dude,
than
Friday,
usual.
Halloween,
My parents were gone for the week.
best shit ever.
My mom left a bunch of bags of candy for me to hand to kids. I got kind of sick of the doorbell ringing every 5
Dude,
minutes.
if
all
I'm
day.
home alone
So eventually
and
I
my
just put an
parents are like,
entire
yeah,
bag of
hand these
candies
candies
into
to
a plastic
kids,
bowl we had in one of the
fuck
kitchen
that, I'm turning off
cabinets.
the lights. and
My
keeping
mom
them
never really
keeping
liked
all the
leaving
candy
a
for
bowl on the
myself.
stoop, but she wasn't there, so what was she gonna do? That lasted a good while because the constant ringing of the doorbell stopped for a couple hours at least, and when the bowl was empty, I refilled it. I wasn't expecting to hear the doorbell again the rest of the night because even if the bowl were emptied, I assumed people would know not to bother ringing the bell at a house with an empty bowl. So when the bell did ring again, I was not only surprised, but also felt a hint of annoyance. I ignored the first ring, but about 30 seconds later, there was another ring. This time I got up from my computer, pausing the game I was playing, and went down to check who was at the front door. I opened the door, and there were two guys in white vendetta masks holding...
Sorry for pausing, but my roommate came back in while I was recording, so we're just gonna start again.
small plastic bags with very minimal candy inside, it seemed. Neither of the two of them said trick or treat. They just ominously both stood there and then lifted up their bags and held them open. I said, "Hang on, I'll get more candy." I felt intimidated, if I'm being honest. I went to get the bag of Reese's and grabbed a few to put in their bags. When I dropped the candies in their plastic bags, one of them, I don't know which, asked in a monotone voice, "Are you home alone?" I said no, but with a stutter because the question scared me. I said, "My parents are here." Then I said, "Have a good night," and shut the door.
Okay, now
Waited by the
go
door
call your
listening
parents.
to see if I'd hear them walk down the steps. I finally heard footsteps leaving, so I felt relieved and started going back upstairs. But that question, "Am I home alone?" kept haunting me.
Yeah, dude, go call your
I couldn't
parents
just go back to my game
and
after
tell them to
hearing
get the
that.
fuck back.
And then I realized the possibility as to why
Maybe
they
grab a
would have asked
weapon
me
too.
that, because there were no cars at all in the
Self-defense.
driveway or in front of the house, yet the lights were on. Then when I, an at the time 14-year-old kid, opened the door, I probably looked like the easiest target ever.
Yeah.
My paranoia was clearly justified though, because while sitting at my desk trying to get back into my game, I heard this loud bang from my window. I was on the second floor, so clearly something was just thrown at the window. My heart started to pound the inside of my chest again. In response, I turned off the computer screen and desk lamp to bring darkness into the room. I then looked out the window, and though I couldn't see anything out there because it was too dark, another object was thrown at the window right in front of me, this one scaring me even more than the last. It sounded like a rock. I instantly felt this intensifying sense of danger. I ducked back down behind the window.
Go
and
grab
left
a
my
weapon,
bedroom.
dog.
I didn't have a cell phone at the time, only
Get
an
a
iPod
knife.
Touch, so I had to get to the kitchen house phone. I crawled my way down the stairs so not to be seen through any of the windows.
That's kind of
I got
smart,
to the kitchen
actually.
phone and dialed 911, but I think they saw even just the light from the little screen of the phone, because there was suddenly an aggressive banging on one of the kitchen windows.
Ooh, no.
By now I was on the phone with 911 begging for help. As I crouch walked out of the kitchen and towards the back door, I screamed, realizing there was one of the guys in the vendetta masks on the other side of the back door, trying to open it. I started screaming into the phone for help, but around the same time, a familiar voice was calling from the other side of the front door. It was our next door neighbor, Chris.
Oh,
I rushed to answer the door and he came in, clearly happy to see I was okay.
thank fuck.
He took the phone from me and spoke to the police for me. He saw the two masked men enter my backyard from his kitchen window and saw them throwing multiple things at the windows of the house.
Oh,
By the time any police officers arrived at the house, those two masked men clearly knew better than to have stuck around.
dude,
Chris
thank
invited
God
me
for
to sleep at his
Chris.
place for the night just to be safe. He was good friends with my dad before he moved, so he really didn't mind helping me. Having good relations
good.
with your neighbors may just save your life one day. You
Yeah.
never know. What I do know
It's
is
true.
this experience made me hate Halloween just that much more.
Some of my favorite Mr. Nightmare videos are his trick-or-treating ones, and this was no exception. This was really good. But anyway, if you enjoyed, make sure you like and subscribe, and until next time, peace.